In the final months of World War II, something unusual happened across Europe. As Allied troops advanced, they expected to find factories, weapons depots, and command centers. What they did not expect were entire research facilities that appeared to have been deliberately erased. Not bombed, not looted, carefully dismantled. Machinery removed piece by piece, documents burned, concrete poured into tunnels, scientists gone. This was not the behavior of a regime hiding failure. It was the behavior of one trying to bury success that had gone too far. For decades, history focused on what could be seen: tanks rolling across borders, aircraft filling the skies, rockets falling on cities. But behind locked doors and deep underground, Nazi Germany pursued a different kind of warfare. One that blurred the boundaries between physics, biology, psychology, and perception itself. These experiments were driven by desperation, ideology, and the belief that a single breakthrough could reverse the course of a losing war. Some projects failed, others were abandoned, but a few produced results so disturbing that they were deliberately erased from official history. As the war collapsed, Allied intelligence units were instructed not only to capture territory, but to secure scientists, research notes, and experimental technology. What they found reshaped modern science, often without public acknowledgement. What disappeared raised even more troubling questions. Among the most controversial projects ever associated with Nazi research is a device allegedly known as Die Glock, or the bell. Described as a large bell-shaped metallic structure, it was reportedly housed in a heavily guarded underground facility in occupied Poland. According to post-war testimonies, the device generated intense electromagnetic fields and radiation levels so extreme that researchers were forced to work in short shifts. Test animals reportedly died during experiments, while several scientists involved suffered fatal illnesses or vanished entirely. No verified photographs or physical remains of the device have ever surfaced, and historians remain deeply divided over its true purpose. Yet what continues to disturb researchers is the consistency of independent accounts describing the same shape, the same effects, and the same abrupt disappearance as the war ended. Whether Die Glock was a power source, a propulsion experiment, or something else entirely remains unknown. What is known is that whatever research surrounded it was treated as exceptionally sensitive. Facilities connected to the project were destroyed or sealed, and personnel linked to it were either reassigned or eliminated. The absence of evidence is not proof of myth, but it is proof of intent to erase. Beyond singular devices, Nazi research extended into the manipulation of perception itself. German scientists explored the effects of magnetic and electromagnetic fields on human vision and spatial awareness. Experimental apparatuses were designed to distort depth perception, interfere with targeting accuracy, and disrupt the ability to visually track objects. These early experiments were unreliable and dangerous, yet they introduced a revolutionary idea. Perception could be altered without physical contact. This principle would later become a cornerstone of electronic warfare and sensor disruption technologies developed during the Cold War. Temperature was another frontier. German laboratories conducted extensive research into extreme cold, officially framed as studies on equipment performance and human endurance in harsh environments. Unofficially, these experiments explored the rapid extraction of heat as a weapon. Devices capable of freezing machinery, infrastructure, or biological tissue within seconds were tested under controlled conditions. Much of this research was seized by Allied forces and repurposed for industrial and military applications. The original experimental machines, however, were never publicly documented and were likely dismantled or destroyed. Sound itself became a weapon. Nazi scientists investigated low-frequency acoustic systems capable of incapacitating human targets without leaving visible injuries. Tests revealed that certain frequencies could induce nausea, disorientation, loss of balance, internal organ stress, and in extreme cases, death. The technology was unstable and dangerous, even to operators, which limited its deployment. Yet it proved something deeply unsettling. The human body could be attacked using vibration alone. Decades later, similar principles would resurface in crowd control devices and classified military research programs worldwide. German aviation research pushed boundaries that modern engineers would not fully master until decades later. Secret aircraft prototypes explored unconventional designs, including variable geometry wings and adaptive control surfaces. Witnesses and recovered blueprints suggest that some experimental aircraft,
protection and survivability were also areas of radical experimentation. Traditional armor was heavy and restrictive, limiting mobility. Nazi researchers explored fluid-based protective materials that could remain flexible during normal movement but instantly harden upon impact. These experimental materials were inconsistent and difficult to manufacture, yet the concept itself survived. Today, similar principles are used in modern non-Newtonian body armor. The idea was not discarded. It was refined elsewhere. Perhaps the most ethically troubling experiments focused on the human mind. Research into cognitive enhancement aimed to improve concentration, reaction speed, and mental endurance through electromagnetic stimulation and chemical intervention. These experiments were not about controlling thought, but about amplifying it. Results were unpredictable and often catastrophic, leading to neurological damage, psychological collapse, and death. The human cost ensured that much of this research would never be publicly acknowledged, yet its influence can still be traced in later studies on neural stimulation. Stealth technology did not begin in the late 20th century. Nazi engineers experimented with radar-absorbing materials intended to reduce the detectability of aircraft and vehicles. Early versions were heavy and inefficient, but the underlying principle worked. Radar invisibility was possible. These materials laid the conceptual groundwork for modern stealth aircraft, even as their origins were quietly erased. One of the most disturbing research avenues explored during this period was theoretical work on biologically targeted weapons. While there is no evidence such weapons were successfully developed or deployed, the existence of the research itself alarmed Allied scientists. The idea that warfare could be tailored to biological or genetic traits represented a line that could not be uncrossed. These projects were terminated, sealed, and officially denied. Infrastructure itself became a strategic weapon. Nazi Germany invested heavily in underground transportation systems designed to move troops and materials unseen. Some plans described concealed or partially submerged rail networks operating beneath cities and terrain. Blueprints were recovered, and construction had begun in several locations. The systems were never completed, but the scale of ambition revealed preparations for a war fought beneath the surface. When the war ended, these experiments did not vanish into nothingness. Some were destroyed. Some were buried. Others were quietly absorbed into post-war research programs under new governments and new names. Scientists were rebranded. Technologies were refined. Origins were forgotten. What remains is a stark reminder that technology itself is neither good nor evil. It has no morality, no restraint, no conscience. It reflects only the intent of those who wield it. History shows that when desperation meets unchecked ambition, some discoveries are considered too dangerous to survive, not because they failed, but because they succeeded.